Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. It's Thursday afternoon here in the UK, 4 p.m. BST. Typical British weather, pissing down with rain. A fella Brit here with me today, Jaques. How you doing, Joe? You good?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Excellent. I'm going to share to the groups. Do you want to let the audience know what you've been up to this week in the middle of the storm of Q4?
Just absolutely crazy, mate. The pallet racking's going up in our new warehouse this week. Not that I'm doing that particularly.
Yeah.
Growing the web business monstrously. Receiving a container, about 4 containers a week at the moment, something like that. So yeah, reasonably busy.
Yeah. How many products you done this year? New ones you've launched?
140, I think.
114. Do you have hands on every single one of those?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I see them all in my January China trip. So kind of go through them one by one.
Yeah.
Just whittle down from a list of about 300.
So how do you manage to actually work through that many products? Like you run ops there as well. It's an 8th generation family. We'll get into that. Someone actually asked me today, it's 1754.
95, yeah, 1795.
1795.
225-year-old this year, mate.
Yeah. Okay. And you're 8th in line to the throne, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'd hope so.
Excellent. Cool. All right, let's get on with it. So let's go back to your childhood, back in the 17th century. No, seriously. Let's go back to your childhood. So obviously you've been around business since you were a child. So let's talk about your first realization with what was going on in terms of this, because obviously being a family business, you can't miss it. Some children don't want to go down that path. I mean, was you a late bloomer? You know, tell me your earliest memory.
Yeah. So my mum and dad got divorced when I was 8.
Yeah.
And I've got a disabled little sister. And we ended up moving to the West Country because she had to go to a special school there. And I was never that close to my dad, so I never had the desire to kind of come into this business. Yeah. And I was very ambitious and very sure of myself, I think it's fair to say. Yeah. So I saw it as the easy option and didn't want to be a quitter and just join the family firm. Right. Which little can I say, it was quite the wrong thing to say, because it was actually not the quitting thing to do, and certainly not the easiest thing to do. So I went off and did some other stuff first. Before
we get into that part of your story, let's stick with your childhood. School stuff. Did you like school? Was it a waste of time, etc.?
Did I like school? Because I moved, liked first school. Middle school was average. And I moved to Devon the day of the school opening. So I went to a really shocking state school right on the edge of the roughest council estate in Exeter. Yeah. So my school was quite lively. About half my year didn't finish school. It meant you could buy anything nicked you wanted, which was great fun. But I didn't really get a very good education. Got some GCSEs and didn't do too well. And decided from that point I wanted to be an architect.
Okay.
So I went to college to do a BTEC in construction in the built environment. Did that for a while. At the same time as working lots, and just got more into cars and partying, to be honest, and dropped out of college.
Right. Okay. So what age are we? It sounds like my life, but apart from the cars, yeah. What age was you around this time? Obviously, you've moved into.
Dropped out of college at 18 or something like that, I guess.
Yeah. So did you train as an architect, or
no, didn't get anywhere with it at all. Just ended up working in bars for a while, then got a job in a Blockbuster Video. Weirdly, this is sort of my formative formulation of who I am, really. Got a job in a Blockbuster Video and just got my head into what it was and retail and kind of how that store ran. And it was a store. So I was hired at 17 when I wasn't, so I'd quit college at that point, hired at 17. Yeah. When I wasn't old enough to even work in this blooming Blockbuster Video. And within 6 months, they'd sacked the manager of the store and let me run it. So I was the youngest ever manager of a Blockbuster Video and got that store whizzing and just got into how it worked.
Yeah. So where did you think you got the mechanics for that? Did you think that was you learnt from observation in the family business? Or
No. I've always just been, I'm not good at much, but I'm good at making money. Yeah. So I've just always been like, I was at that school, going back to that school I went to, there was obviously always kids bunking off school. So, and they were always the kids that had free school meals. So I used to make a packed lunch, sell my packed lunch, and then go and get the free school dinners like every day.
Yeah.
So I was always into that kind of mentality.
You were ducking and diving.
It was a bit of a ducking and diving, yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of fiddled doing that for a while.
So before we continue with the story, I'd like to set the scene because, like, normally we get Amazon sellers on, you know, go out their brands and they go out off the platform as well. But what's interesting of you, you've got a rich tapestry there of history.
Yes.
Can we talk about the history of the business, what you do? A part of it, you're obviously 8th generation. Let's go back. What it's about, what you do, and what's the meaning behind it and stuff.
So when I inherited the business, it was, so this is going back to 2001. I started working in this firm, and I joined as a commercial salesperson, selling out across, just driving around in a car, selling to sports shops. We predominantly sold sports equipment. So anything, well, we invented croquet in 1851, so we've always done quite well selling croquet, but we sold like badminton sets, ball sets, quite a few things.
Invented the actual game croquet.
Game of croquet in 1851, yeah. Haven't got any copyright, any patents, anything, unfortunately. Everything, even the brand name Jaques of London had been trademarked by an Indian when I inherited the firm. So we had to have a court case to get our own brand name. We joined to try and have some sort of control. It just sort of been run like a bit of an old, it's a decent business, but just not in a typical commercial way. So I was a salesperson going out to sports shops and this, that, and the other. Gradually, I went to China, I think in 2003, I'm going to say, because my dad did all the buying from China, and that's kind of what we did. And I think by about 2007, 2008, most of our biggest customers were people that were selling online. But at this point, we were still big with John Lewis, big with Harrods. They were kind of quite key things to us. But in reality, the business wasn't really doing very well, turning over a bit, wasn't really making any money, because, you know, all those big box retailers were turning the screws on us. The brand had got completely out of control because it was being sold by all and sundry. Everybody had a bit of a website selling a croquet set, making £3. So the brand was being slaughtered. The people selling it weren't very interested because there was no money in it because the prices were all being destroyed. And the big box retailers were making all the money and we weren't making any. So it was all a bit higgledy-piggledy upside down. At that point, we said, this is balmy. We effectively then closed every single account, including John Lewis, Harrods, everything like that, and gradually opened a few up, but started selling ourselves properly, sort of online kind of thing, and growing that side of the business to the point of, by about 2012, 13, we'd closed everybody's account and we just sort of went alone, if you like, and sold it ourselves.
It was quite a long process of shutting that off from 2001.
Really hard.
It's
the whole business, the whole ecosystem, the whole way the business worked, all that staff, all the everything, everything was geared around being a wholesale business.
So what was the impact there? Being that you've got a family tradition, you've come in 2001, you fucked around at school, right?
Yeah.
You've just gone on and done your own thing. You weren't going to go into the family business. You join as the commercial kind of sales director. And then you've just decided, all right, we're going to decimate the family history to a point, and we're going to go in a different direction. How did that go down with the shareholders? It
took me probably 10 years of hammering on about the future. To everybody in the family to say, look, this is where it's going. And I think I probably hit the turning point in about 2014, where everybody went, oh yeah, he might be right, actually. And so you kind of got full back.
You had everyone on your back for 13 years.
Yeah.
Until they
I'm used to being disruptive. That's one of the things I'm good at.
So what can you talk us through? Because I think it'd be good for the audience is that when you've already established yourself with Harrods, John Lewis and stuff, you know, the ego's there for them is like, who do you think you are shutting down the accounts? I mean, how did you manage that? Obviously it took 11, 12 years, but.
Yes, just gradually whittling it down, to be absolutely honest. A lot of these things, you end up with the account, I think the account was doing about 250,000 a year with John Lewis when we closed it.
Which isn't a lot when you think of John Lewis, is it?
No, it's not a lot. No, it's not a lot at all. But you kind of got to the point where you realize that they were shifting themselves online. I said, I don't think John Lewis is a good business model. I think it will fold eventually. I just think that's not the future of retail. It's collapsing. This is a long time ago. You know, this is 13 years ago now. We're talking about doing this. Everyone thought it was a bit mad, but you just see that the thing didn't really make any money. they came out of that sort of 6, 7, 8 recession and just turned the screws on all the suppliers. So you've got to pay this, you've got to pay the marketing, you've got to this, and you just go, well, there's absolutely no point in it.
There's nothing left on the bone. So
nothing left on the bone.
So that was kind of a mutual consent thing anyway, wasn't it? Because you could show, look, there's none of the numbers.
Yes,
there.
Correct.
Yeah. So can I say what you're in the toys category now? You're right to say what they are, because like I thought the board games went back as far as it did, but obviously it's more about sports equipment, right?
Yes. So we used to do loads of toys and about board games, if you like, in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Sort of 1880, something like that. We invented Snakes and Ladders, we invented Ludo. That's kind of our backbone, but we stopped selling them. So
is there anything you didn't fucking invent, mate? Listen, you've done croquet, Snakes and Ladders. You got some classics Ludo, in there. Yeah.
Ping pong,
Tiddlywinks,
Happy Families, Snap. Yeah,
so I take it the next part of the story is this is where you started to bring it all back, right?
Yes, I did start to bring it all back. Yeah. But alongside all of this is kids are getting older, younger. So you kind of got that whole market where you used to think a 12, 14-year-old would have a chess set. Yeah. And that was a big market, and backgammon and chess and all these sorts of things. That started to evaporate. And actually the market for everything just came a little bit younger. And so our last 3 years, really, we brought the average age of our end user down, if you like, more. So we're now kids, wooden toys. Going on the toys and games for 225 years, but it just opens up the world and the market massively, you know. And I'm not going to lie, you use a lot of the tools around Amazon and a lot of your understanding. There's so much knowledge can be gleaned from the world of Amazon to help you understand what the customers are thinking and what they are doing, you know, really, really obvious stuff, but people don't really then apply it to their overall thinking. So we've just sort of restructured ourselves accordingly. Yeah.
So you stepped on board. What were you doing? A couple of you don't have to answer these questions. I'm sure it's at Company's House anyway, if it was there. But when you started, that you said that you wasn't making a huge amount. I mean, was you still turning over, but just wasn't making money when you stepped in 2001?
Yeah, correct.
And so you ironed out for the margin. And so by 2013 and 14, when people in the family and stuff to
be honest, by that point we weren't good enough at selling online. It still wasn't making any money, to be completely honest. We were ending the transition and building up the new thing, but we'd had years of not making any money, running low on inventory, and just kind of it being not brilliant, to be completely honest. And it's really only 15 onwards that we started getting the wind in our sails, if you're with me.
Cool. Then this document from then. So what was it what was the turning point for you after years of graft? You got everyone on your back. You're convinced that this is the way forward. How did you turn the screw and start to make the changes?
To be honest, it was getting into Amazon, to be completely truthful. It was just at that sort of point when everybody was getting into Amazon, if you like. Yeah. And this is sort of pre-Amazon advertising day, time kind of thing, when you wouldn't be spending loads of money on advertising on Amazon. That just wasn't a thing. So you could put your stuff up there and it would sort of sell. And at that time, that 15% plus VAT that they charge was a very affordable way of getting your product out there. You know, also bear in mind, we were coming from a business where we were now too low a volume because our prices were too high. So we had a slightly outdated pricing system. And it was from 15 into 16, 17 that we started bringing the prices down and being much more competitive and ramping the volume up. Yeah. So we had a few static years of turnover but greater volume, and then 17 we picked the nose up and it's gone.
And so what kind of products were the ones that you started to bring that in line with? In 15 and 16 you just jumped on Amazon, or you've not jumped on Amazon, but you've now found the touch point? Yes.
Toys a little bit more probably at that sort of era. So getting better at slightly more broadly appealing type things. So a bit more children-y toys. And it was sort of the 18, 19 when we really got stuck into that things really started to lift up.
Yeah. So just going back to the board games, how did you reintroduce that? Like you said that you don't have patents and stuff like that. Obviously, it's rich in the family history as people that innovated and come up with those products. How did you manage to position that in the market, and what impact did that have against the other sellers who were selling those kind of products?
So those particular the board games didn't do so. We did reintroduce them, but it's lots of other bits and typical wooden toy bits and pieces. But so winding into all of this, the thing that we also did in about 2010, we hired someone in China to kind of set up. When we inherited the business, we were bringing in boxes from Taiwan and product in from China. We were boxing it up in England, and that's kind of, it didn't seem particularly antiquated then. I very quickly realized this was also very antiquated and started setting about getting stuff more finished in China. The problem with all of that was everything just looked like off the shelf generic China stuff in a reasonably poorly produced box, and do you know what I mean? It just all looks a bit naff. It just looked like another product with a different brand logo on, which was not what I believe we are. So we set up a system of having employed someone in China, hired a garage, got a bit of product sourcing going on, and then sort of hired a house that we turned into a warehouse, then hired a house next door that we turned into a warehouse. And then 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I had a 15,000 square foot warehouse out there that all it did, it had at that point, I don't know, 5 or 6 ladies that would quality control, check, and wrap the product nicely. And that just enabled that level of control for us to be that little bit better in a world of increasingly transparent selling. Stuff has to be good. And that sort of developed into now we gift box stuff and have a bow on it and all this kind of thing. So we've now got a big team out there doing 50 odd people full time that are now in a 30,000 square foot warehouse, just quality controlling and wrapping and packing and getting stuff absolutely spot on.
So you've been out of China a lot yourself?
40 times, something like that.
So, but when was the last time, because of COVID, have you been out since?
I'd made it really tough. This is I haven't been out since January, and I never thought I'd having moaned about it every year when you go and do these blooming great.
Do you like
trips.
going to China? I don't mean
I love it. It turns out I bloody absolutely love it. It's hard work and it is knackering. Our offices and warehouse are about 6 hours by car from Shanghai, so it's a long old trip and it's hard work, but it is absolutely amazing. You can do so much. There's such an engaging nation there. They're so ambitious. They're so desperate to get it right. They're brilliant.
And are you at the stage where you own any of the factories, or it's just you've got a lot of production?
No. So all we do is rent a warehouse with a team there. So we don't own land or.
So let's go back to 17 and pick up the story from, like this year, you've done 140 products. Now you have to work towards that. So let's start talking about, how you've stepped that up in terms of constantly releasing products. Like you said, you had a product list of 300. So how many products did you launch in 2017?
17. Oh God, a handful, 5, 10.
Okay. And so what was the drive between now and then to get, like I said, 140 products this year is a shit ton of products to launch on a family business, right?
A lot. Yes.
So what is the process? Because, a lot of people find it difficult to do product sourcing, yet you'd find 100 or 300 products and pick 140. That's still quite a high volume.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I just think people get stuff upside down. I've literally just been speaking to Ben, our very good mutual friend Ben, who I'm sure you've had on the show a few times.
Yeah.
He's amazing, bloke. He actually does a brand and he's an expert at brand, doesn't just do another private label thing. I think that you have to start from a point of differentiation, not find a product and try and differentiate it, if you're with me. So you have to kind of have something that you are different at. Not just find another cup and put a different sticker on it. Well,
you've got the history. There's a rich history there.
A lot of it, yes, absolutely. But you have to have a theory, and
that's not to take anything away.
No.
Like you said, a brand behind the brand is a story as well.
There's a story. That's the strength. So I reference things like Fever-Tree. Fever-Tree dreamt up a wicked story that smashed Schweppes out of the water. No one really thinks about how old Schweppes are. They think about the quality and the thing about Fever-Tree. We don't know why, but they had massive strength and identity and everything to that business. For us, it was all about having that integrity, the power of real play, a really nice, decent quality item, and the education through play. So everything we do is embedded with that, and make it. Really simply, I always put myself as the customer and think the most valuable part of a whole purchase really is once you've been at. Mate, you'll relate to this. I always treat everything a bit like dates. And about how you're supposed to be, and when you're going out and you meet your parents, your in-laws, or whatever it may be for the first time. That product, when you rock into someone's house or when you walk into that house, that first 30 seconds of impression is absolutely critical. So our product gets about 30 seconds to make the most impression. Therefore, the psychology of receiving and opening.
Well, it's funny because we never met like that. Well, I got a really bad impression of you when I first met you, so I was like, I'll give him a second chance. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Thanks,
no, we met through Michael Veasley, who again is a podcaster in the space, and he was raving about you, and it was good that we connected. I think it was about 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So back to the story. So I still want to understand how you got 240 products and build out that scale. So can you talk me through some of the mechanics for the audience?
In terms of how you get, so I've got an office. I've got an office in the Far East, and I send my spreadsheet each year over to the Far East and say, these are the things that I am interested in. Go and find multiple suppliers for these different types of products. They will then put in my office when I rock up in my January trip, all of those samples. So I will sit there for days, 12 hours a day, working through all those samples. We will then move through that and deliver more personalization. I've now got an office here. So that was kind of then, and I just picked slight off the shelf product, made them feel and look very Jaques. But they were all kind of a bit similar. Now we go right the way back to nowhere and build and create stuff all completely by ourselves. So I'm sat in a team now, brand new this year. There's 7 of us in here, soon to be 8, as of Monday, that are just about marketing and product development.
So how big is the team overall? Is that the 7 and 8 and a few external vendors, or?
No, so we've got 8 in this office, 12 in the other office. And then I think there's about 20 people in the warehouse. So I think we're nudging 50 people by the end of this year.
Yeah, so you're a substantial size.
Yeah. And then in China, there's another 40 people wrapping and packing and buys. There's about 50 more in China that just work for us.
Okay. And so what is your day-to-day looking like at the moment? I know you said commercial.
That's a funny one, isn't it? So my whole
you
world,
put all the fires out and go on.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. My whole world's completely different. So I'm no longer, I don't do any listings. I don't look at, so I just flip from meeting to meeting, making marketing driven decisions, making board level decisions. My role in the business, what I might do is I make the space for people to excel and have, and kind
so you're the enabler. So basically take care of
create the vision effectively. But I don't really know.
I mean, you're not lazy. You get your hands dirty. I mean, I've known for years, like you're wearing multiple hats and stuff. So when did this kind of kick in for you to take a step back, more like on the business rather than in the business?
Yeah, it happened this year. Just must. We went from doing, I don't know, we're going to make as much as we turn, you just got very busy. We shipped a container a day in October.
Wow.
So we're just a lot of stuff now, and it gets to the point where that creates so much other complexities around cash and around everything. And that, I cannot tell you the difference having really smart people. I know there's this huge thing in the world of using outsourcing and doing this and back office that, and it's great for a business that only wants to do 2, 3, 4 million, where you want that ceiling. That's not, we've been there, we've played that game. That's not where we are. That's not where we're going. So,
where are you going?
100 million within the next 8 years.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're mapped out to be now, and we'll probably do it in a bit less than that, to be honest, by the looks of things.
Yeah, excellent. So you obviously had to take a step back in order to enable people. So what do you look for when you bring in people on board and you are expanding? Like you said, you have to think about the vision. What did you look for in the people that you brought in? Because you just mentioned about having great people and smart people. What is it that you look for?
Game changing. Energy, enthusiasm is massive. Moral integrity is a very funny one to say.
Why? That should be fucking standard.
I know, but it's amazing, the process of interviews. We've just been, this is an earshot, so I'll be careful what I say. We've just hired an e-com director, and it's very, laughing in the background. But it was very funny, you know, interviewing some really fantastically good people in that process. But it was just really interesting who kind of wanted it. And I think the honesty to oneself is kind of what I mean about integrity. Some people like having the job. Some people want to just be good. And it's really, mate, it's the most liberating, enlightening process, building a business up of people. But mate, that's all I care about now. I've given up worrying. I don't think about, I used to want to have loads of cars and loads of money. Don't get me wrong. I still want loads of cars and loads of money, but I'd give it all up for this.
Yeah.
So
just
I think
finding
you,
the right
you
people.
transition. Yeah, you transition into what you want.
And so what is the hiring process for you? Like you said, you're looking for moral integrity and everything else, but how do you go about that? Because, you know, everyone puts their best foot forward in an interview, right?
Yes.
And so how do you manage to, on a psychological level, when you're interviewing, because I have to do it as well, but not at your scale, of course, but what you're looking for when you're interviewing people is like, you know, they're putting their best foot forward. All your concern is, how will they integrate with the team? Because one bad apple can fuck up the cart. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. A huge amount of it is how the team is. Having good people to help build out that team. It's what sort of isn't said kind of thing that's key. I think just decent people do a decent job. You know, most of what I've got a big thing about learning and about, we used to be in a world where
first of knowledge. Yeah. So you want to see that they're,
kind of thing. We used to be in a world where everybody learned something and brought in a skill set kind of thing. And there is massively that, and there is a lot of experience in that. We do bring in, and we've brought in some amazing skill and some amazing capability, but it's more about that desire to continually better something.
Yeah. Okay. What's been your biggest fuck up with the business?
Doing products that I didn't check and getting done by competitors for launching copycat products. I've just done another one of those, so I won't be doing that again. Copyright issues, having a face on a Domino's tile that I shouldn't have done. Not making decisions soon enough early on. Holding on to old world. Just not moving, not just kind of being stuck in ruts too much. Lots. Probably a big one. We had an American business that we inherited with a load of debt, and I thought the way of fixing that debt was to trade out of it. And actually, all I managed to do by trading in America at that time was add more debt. So that was a pretty bad. That was a pretty bad thing to have done. And not. It's the hardest thing is stock. I know that's and I'm sure you hear this time and time again, but we live in a world where we have access to so many bloody sales that you really do have to bet everything on having lots of stock, and you do have to take brave decisions. And running out of stock for too many years, I'd say, was a mistake. You know, this is the first Christmas we've bought double our turnover expectation. So I've now got,
because you're good with cash flow anyway. You can see it out for next year. You'll still sell it through.
Yes, correct. Yeah, mate, our stuff doesn't have a date on it, so you know, a wooden toy for the next 50 years, sort of thing. It is, isn't it? So we can afford to overbuy, you know, and build. But mate, our biggest trick is having a good working relationship with China. So we have this wicked working relationship where we do get credit from them. So I can use our cash flow.
You're on terms with everything that you do.
Everything, everything.
Yeah, that's good, and I suppose that's paid off. Yeah, 40 visits to China is obviously going to help with that as well, because you were constantly over there.
Yeah.
So, any impact at all from COVID on your business? Have you
I reckon we had about a 30% uplift. So we were trending at double and a bit this year. Because obviously we've launched loads of products. We knew you know what lead times are like from China. You can't like react to COVID, particularly when China will get shut as well, and we all got shut. So you can't really react in a way that you would traditionally. So happy coincidence, mate. We decided to launch all these products and go hard about 3 months into this year, 4 months into this year, when COVID had a bit of a bite on us, and we'd obviously had a 30% uplift on our already double last year, if you're with me. So we were sort of 2.5 times last year, 4 months in. We went, I tell you what, this might have a wicked impact on our year-long cash flow. We then decided to up our buying plan by about 30 or 40%. So we bought a lot of stock. So we reacted to it early doors and just played the game, really.
Yeah. What's your biggest weaknesses? Don't have to overthink. Don't overthink it.
I'm not very patient. Is probably my biggest weakness. I don't let people have enough time to talk and explain things, and I would, and I've got a really bad temper.
Yeah,
would be probably my biggest weakness, and probably I just don't like losing. I'm just a stroppy little shit. So if I don't get something right, I take it really personally. That's my biggest weakness.
What about your strengths? What would you say your best strengths are?
God knows, mate.
I know what your best strengths are. I know you, and I've seen you when we've had our own private little masterminds and stuff. And you rocked up and played it cool, but like the company structure, everything you've put in place, you've done a phenomenal job with that commercial side of the business, and you've been very I think one of your strengths is focus. Yes,
I am very focused. There is no not winning, if that's the right word. There's no not achieving what we're going to achieve. It's absolutely in my mind. And I love people. That's probably my biggest thing. And I think the thing that I've learned this year through building bigger teams is businesses are about people. It's not about anything else. It's not about anything. We all spend our life obsessing in these bloody Amazon masterminds, talking about processes and all this kind of stuff, and looking down at our feet the whole time and automating some clever thing and doing this and doing that. If you haven't got an army of wicked people around you, it's a completely wasted exercise. You will only be as good. We are all born equal. We all have a set trajectory. The only way you can do better than that is to build an army.
Yeah. Hits and misses. So what's your ratio at the moment? Obviously you release a lot of products. How many duds are you going to get? Would you say you get out of every 10 products you launch?
That sounds awful. I don't think we've had one this year. I just don't think. No, tell a lie. My first delivery of something, it failed a quality test, so I had to throw about 2,000 to something in a skip. But,
it's a sickener, isn't it, when you have to do that?
Yeah, but it's, hold your hands up. That was totally my mistake.
Not having your eye on the product, like you mentioned before. That.
Yeah, it was just a stupid little thing on a kid's toy that just wasn't good enough. But no, we sell everything. We are selling everything.
Yeah.
And with this team in this room of bringing in people that understand, growing our non-Amazon business, it's bonkers, mate. It's absolutely bonkers. So do we not sell? No. Our problem is just, Christmas has started. Normally I have a meltdown that we're about to go skint to my wife every year about the 10th to the 15th of November. And poor wife picks me up off the floor in bits and says, you'll be all right. You do the same every year.
Yeah.
We're now, whatever the date is, 29th of October, and we are trading at end of November numbers almost.
Yeah.
Which normally we're sort of 5 to 6x this time last year. So we're just my fate. I would say we haven't bought enough, but I'm double stocks. I'm saying, mate, I spent my whole life to get to this point. We're in a good place.
Yeah. And you're not there to fuck it up. What do you do? No, exactly. No one is there to fuck it up. You build yourself into a position with consistency. And then when the opportunity comes, you take your opportunity. When it comes to stress, pressure and stuff, how do you handle that?
It's hard, mate. It's hard. The stress bit. I ride a bike and hurt myself hard on a turbo trainer bike thing. That helps alleviate quite a lot of stress. And I have quite a lot of discipline. I've got small children, so I think spending time with small children is the ultimate all-encompasser, I think.
It levels you.
Yeah, and I take 6 weeks. This whole of the summer holidays, I take 6 weeks off with the children. So despite this whole COVID year, I've still done good 10 weeks of holiday.
Right. Okay.
Abroad.
And so what do you do then to relax? Obviously, you spend time with the kids and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm not being funny. You've got a few running round, right? How many you got now? 3.
Yeah,
You got two. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's a job in itself as well. When you're saying taking time out, it's amazing to spend time with your family. But when they're quite young, there's a lot of entertaining to do as well. So by the end of the day, you're still exhausted, right?
Yes. Yeah. I just try and not rush myself. I try and lose the mentality of being last at the office, first in. So I just try and create a bit of breathing space. So simple things like making a cup of tea in the morning and not rushing out the house, just not pressurizing yourself to do things, just enables you to be a bit cleaner of thought when you arrive at places, if that makes any sense. So because that's generally a lot of it is feeling like we're supposed to be somewhere else or we're supposed to be doing something else.
What's been your darkest hour just before dawn?
Just before dawn?
When everything goes to shit and you've had to pull it out at the last minute.
Yeah, just that annual probably. I built a house stupidly in about 2012, and the business was just I'd taken all my attention off the business and I put all my attention to this house. The house got finished and the business posted another massive loss year. And basically I knew that I couldn't turn it around at that point. And having spent 5 years building a dream home, had to sit down with my wife and tell her we had to sell it, which was quite hard work. Having lived there a week, that was tricky.
Wow.
Because when someone supported you for being so mental for so long, that's quite a...
Well, yeah, because obviously that's your home, the family home, the kids' home is the dream that you built. And after 5 years, you had it for a week, and then you had to say, by the way, the dream's over now.
Yeah.
And that can have a devastating impact on a marriage, without a doubt.
Yeah, no, mate, luck more than judgment. I've got an amazing wife.
Yeah,
that's all I could probably say to that. She's far stronger than I and just gets on with stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's go back to 2018. So we've gone through the turning point. 17 was a good year for you guys, wasn't it? It really started to come together on Amazon. Let's walk through 18. What was happening? What was the highlights of 2018?
Just getting better at all that stuff, starting to get the Amazon world, and having had way too many years of not really understanding a future, we understood that we had a future, which feels like a mental thing to say. And 18, was probably, I don't know, probably 15 new products or something like that. But just kind of getting a bit of momentum. And I think sort of 17, 18, there was still a sort of reasonable natural pickup in the world of Amazon as there was. I think it's leveled off a bit now, that whole world, to a degree. Although I'm not sure about that this year. I thought it had. Just realizing we had a bit of a future with stuff, really. And it just starting to make sense, making a bit of money, realizing we could have the house. It was quite a long old journey from, I think 12, yeah. But yeah, realizing that it was sort of working, and we then exited 18 in a big place. Everything had bumped up and had a good, we're a toys business, Christmas is everything. So it generally is quite stressful to the last minute.
Yeah.
So
that was 18, moving into 19.
19, we'd got the gist from 18, and that was like 40. I think we had 50 products, of which we think we launched 37, I want to say, maybe 40, but hit the ground running. And by the time those products were launched for Christmas, which kind of we launched in about August, something like that, to start ranking, we had like one of those Christmases where like, we've got this. We are now a proper business. We are starting to fly. I'd had someone join me in my team, if you like, directly in my little world, because I did everything up until that point, all the listings, all the advertising, all the images, all of it. And then I had someone 18 to start helping me, Jaques, who you've met, kind of helped me through that. And then we started building that team out into 19. So 19 was like and then Christmas 19, we absolutely, did really well.
Yeah. So then moving into 20, what was the plans? Obviously, you had 300 products listed.
Yeah.
You picked from that 140. So let's talk about January this year.
January China trip, high as a kite, came back, obviously, all that product, all that stuff. We'd had our new warehouse in China. We'd grown that team out. We were sort of ready to rock and roll, really, absolutely flying. And I placed all the orders for all those products. Really had made enough money in 19 to have a good crack at this year was the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that still stayed on track because you've actually done more than expected, being that everyone was at home. But when you were there in January, did you start to see the murmurs of COVID? Because being in China, that's when it really kind of reached the news, didn't it?
It was end of Jan I got back. So there was murmurs of COVID when I got back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
so I think I missed it by literally as I was coming back, the noise was happening.
Yeah.
And I literally landed and people were talking about it. When I left a week earlier, it didn't exist, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's walk through February, March, April, May. COVID's hit. What was going through your mind with the business? Obviously, because you don't know at first until you start to see the sales go up, right? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And there's a lot of people's sales went down,
So I had a weird. So we realised we needed to grow the team on our January trip and spoke about having a new CFO and hiring some more sort of high level top people, if you're with me. Addressed that in January, sort of that started moving, then rolled into March, April. Everyone was bloody working from home. Amazon stopped taking all the deliveries. Because we've got a warehouse as a team, my cousin Emmett, who I run the business with, was running this business here, if you're with me. I was running the office team sort of remotely, which was really hard, really hard. Because everyone was just struggling. Everyone was working I was understaffed at that point massively. Everyone was working too many hours. Everyone was stressed. It was really miserable. But I had a really weird moment where I suddenly realized we got this. So there was like an epiphany, and I just suddenly, for the first time ever, I realized it was ours to throw away. And I reached out to I hate saying reached out, but I got in contact with a guy I know who is monstrously successful, worth several hundred million, just to say, can you just mentor me for a bit to kind of pull me through this? Because I think I've kind of got it. And he just helped me understand the importance of the bits of the business that were most important and what bits I had to delegate over and what we needed to hire in a bit, and just understand the key parts of this business. So if our growth came from new products and driving and launching, and just invest in that more and dedicate the belief of the time, because you just get pulled so tight, pulled so spread so thinly rather, that you don't end up doing anything properly. So just square my mind up, and from that point on I've just absolutely smashed it.
So you mentioned that you want to get to 100 million in the next 8 years. What else is on the horizon? And when you get to 100 million, and I know it's a family business, but do you have a plan on doing a big exit, or you're still going to retain it? You just want set a big goal.
I just, because it's kind of there for the taking. I mean, it's slightly arrogant, it's easy kind of mentality. We're on a good path. We're growing very aggressively. We're going to have a big year this year. We're having a big year. I inherited a business that was laden with debt and a really old world, and wasn't really in anything and didn't get a proper handover. My dream is to build up a business that's got a proper executive board in situ, that runs the business, that then you've got something that is inheritable. So someone can come in, train to do a professional role if that's what they want to do, and become part of that business, but have something that's proper. So then when I finish polishing the egg, mate, I'm only going to do how many years it is here, 30 years or whatever it is, if it's 40 years, if it's 225 year history. I just want to polish the egg and hand it on in a decent state.
And but I meant as well, what about your legacy money as well? Probably asking too many personal questions, because a lot of people want to exit to get legacy. So whilst you're building and then passing to the next gen. Do you have like side investments and things like that as well?
No. I'm really happy to. I like doing this. I've become distracted in the past with little side investments and this, that, and the other. It's just not a worthwhile. Why do I need to? I'm investing. Anything I invest in here is working, and I know what I'm doing with this. Why trust other things to be in control of that money?
Yeah.
We take money out, we earn money, and it's all jolly nice.
Indeed. Legacy or money?
Oh, legacy, 100%.
And why?
Just it's funny, isn't it? You used to always just like the thought of creating decence, impacting the world, or the privilege of impacting people's lives is massive. So if you can create a good job, which sounds a bit arrogant to say, but a good job and a good existence for other people, and if you can get to a point where you are able to create a good existence for lots of people, that's quite a privileged situation.
Yeah,
I'd rather be remembered for that.
Well, I was going to say, how would you like to be remembered? But you answered both questions.
Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
Yeah,
I know it's probably a surprise myself, really. I do like cars, and I want to have a massive collection of cars. That's what I would like to have, and I'm very happy for all my wealth to be tied up in them.
Excellent. Well, look, that was your in-depth. Hope you enjoyed it.
I really loved it, mate. Yeah, very good.
Excellent.
Very good. It's always great to talk to you, Danny. I miss you, mate. We need to.
Well, we're going to see each other in the new year.
So. Yeah, really look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll get together. If people want to reach out to you, a bit of advice and stuff, is there a way of reaching you?
Probably best to come through to the office to gameon@jaques.co.uk.
Excellent. Joe, thank you for coming in today. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to bringing you back in a few years' time for another in-depth and see where you are and how close you are to the target 100 million. Guys, I won't be back here on Monday because we have someone joining the Seller Sessions team and they'll be in situ. I won't give away who it is just yet. So Mondays are going to be taken over from me because I'll be making some new announcements soon. I've got a big project that I'm working on next year. So I need to take a little bit of a step back from the podcast. I'll still be doing 3 days a week, but we're going to kind of make Seller Sessions more of a network. So we'll still be out there on a daily basis, Monday to Thursday. But I've got someone will be taking over the chair on a Monday, and hope you enjoy it. I will may do an update video tomorrow, or we'll just maybe save it for Monday, and then you can see who it is. And have a wonderful weekend. Lots of love to you all and your friends and family. Take care. Be safe. I'll see you soon.